Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another evening of Heroes Lounge. And I'm your host for the night, I'm Karis, and we're going to be bringing you a lovely Division 7 matchup between Fat Under Ladders and Loot Your Loot. So, what does Fat Under Ladders mean? Well, they are a free agent team, meaning they are a team of people who just joined Heroes Lounge as individuals or as a smaller than 5 people, and they've been matched with other free agents in their division, and that's how their teams come together. So they're not like a pre-established team necessarily, but they can still hopefully do well. So we'll see how these two teams get on. Just waiting for them to assemble. Let's see, ready? As I said, they're both Division 7. Now, I think neither team's been hugely successful so far in the division stage. But there is a chance maybe for playoffs. Am I wrong? Maybe. I think it seems unlikely they will make playoffs, but I think both teams will want to get the win for the sake of passion for the game. Let me just see if I can get some of this up and running. I believe we're almost ready to go into the draft. We're just waiting for one more of the players. So, while we do that, we can take a look at the map bans from these two teams. So if we take a look at those, we can see here that Fat Under Ladders have banned Braxis Holdout and Cursed Hollow, and their opponents, Loot Your Loot, have banned Towers of Doom and Volskaya Foundry. And I believe we have got a map pick in. It's Infernal Shrines, and that was picked by Loot Your Loot, the red team, meaning their opponents will have first pick on this game number 1. So, Infernal Shrines, the most commonly picked map in Heroes Lounge, I believe, along with Volskaya Foundry. We'll get more stats on that in the Heroes Lounge Draw Show, which is coming up this weekend on this channel. And you can see that around, I want to say 8 p.m. Central European time. But follow the channel and you'll get an alert when it goes live, because I don't necessarily remember times perfectly in my old age. But yeah, we will have the Heroes Lounge Draw Show. Typically we get stats analysis of the various divisions there. So we'll hear something about the commonly picked maps for the different divisions. But I do believe Infernal Shrines is usually top on the pick there. So what are we going to expect at Infernal Shrines? Of course, we're still waiting for that draft to get ready. But when we do get in that draft, what might we see here on Infernal Shrines? Well, one thing that Division 7 are famous for prioritizing is Kael'thas, and he's particularly good here on Infernal Shrines. So I think we'll have to see if that comes out early in the picks or bans for these teams as we head into the draft in game number 1. And here you can see, helpfully, I appear to have frozen in the draft screen, but I am here. So we will just get rid of my camera because it's mysteriously frozen, but I am here. So as we head into the draft, we'll have a look at what these teams are going to pick up. As we said, so Fat Under Ladders, the team in blue here, they've got first pick here on Infernal Shrines. And they've immediately banned out that Gazlo. Now, he's been popular since his buffs in a recent rework. So I think that's not so surprising to see him banned out early on. We might see a D.Va ban along the same kind of lines. But bear in mind, Gazlo and D.Va both did get tuned down slightly in that balance patch that we saw this week. So I wouldn't be too shocked to see one of those go through the draft at some point during tonight's proceedings. But so far, Joanna banned, their by Lucha Loot, not wanting to deal with her. She's a great wave clear tank, great sustain on those shrines. So Lucha Loot not going to have any of that. So while we wait for these teams to get in some more bands, you can now bet on who you think will win game number 1 in this best of 3 series. And you can do that by typing !bet space A space a number to bet points, virtual points on Fat Under Ladders, or !bet B and a number to bet on Loot Your Loot. And you've got about 6 minutes to get those bets in. It's just points, it's just for fun. Don't get addicted to gambling. It'll all be magical. So, D.Va was banned by Fat Under Ladders as anticipated. Nothing too shocking there. And there's a Tessadar ban. Again, nothing too surprising coming out from either of the teams so far in these banning stages. But it does leave open the Division 7 favourite Kael'thas. It leaves open some of the strong tanks. You know, you might see a Diablo picked up earlier here on Infernal Shrines by Under Ladders, or a Garrosh as well that could get prioritization. But there's so many options here. Now Li Ming, that is a slightly surprising first pick. Obviously a strong mage in general, but here on the Infernal Shrine she can struggle a little bit more because, of course, the guardians on those shrines can block her projectile-based spells. ETC picked up in response here by Lucha Loot. I suspect not so much in response as that's what they were going to pick anyway. Chromie, another solid pick, but again, those Qs are blocked by the Guardians at least until her level 18/20 talent, where she can get the piercing shots, but until then, they will be blocked by those Guardians, so maybe both of these mages might struggle a little bit to do some damage on the targets that they choose around these shrine fights. There's a Muradin picked up, a lovely tank pickup from Fat Under Ladders there, and been augmented by Reyna, who's going to have that great shrine clear. So one way they can avoid Li Ming's shots getting blocked is if Reyna's just constantly clearing. So we might expect to see Exterminator get picked up by Reyna here at level 1. So I can see some of you trying to bet, but you don't have any points. Transparent TV, raiding with a party of 20. Welcome, viewers of Transparent. I'm Opaque. This is Opaque TV. No, I'm Karis, and you're watching Heroes Lounge Division 7, where Fat Under Ladders, a free agent team, are going up against Loot Your Loot. We haven't even started game number 1 yet. That's how well-timed your arrival is. And both of these teams itching to get started as they are midway through the draft of game number 1 here. So, there's the Deckard ban, a nice support ban. Now, what we might see now is Lucha Loot picking up their support of choice and hoping to choke a little bit. However, with so many healers still in the pool, so many healers considered viable at the moment, I don't think that's going to be a choke that worries Fat Under Ladder. But nonetheless, Lucha Loot not wanting Deckard for that strong point control for their opponents. So, what we're likely to see here is some kind of healer pickup and some kind of DPS pickup from Lucha Loot and leave their offlaner to last. No, they go for choosing the offlaner Sonya now. Obviously, something they're very comfortable on. Altaric picking up that Sonya as we speak. If we examine the statistics for Loot Your Loot, we will see what their win rate is with Sonya. It looks like it is not in one of their most played heroes, actually. So they've not been playing Sonya too much. So I'm surprised they slammed that in so early. So, as it's not a comfort, and they did have the flexibility for that last pick offlaner. Leoric gets picked up there by Fat Under Ladders along with the Ana. So we do see the traditional Ana Ming combo. Nice and juicy. What is going to be picked up as DPS for, and we could even see the Kerrigan. Kerrigan has just been unbanned in Heroes Lounge. Now that's already magic coming out from Lucha Loot, going for some quite heavy dive there with Malthael and Sonya. I'm really going to try and punish that Anna, I suspect, as they go in pretty deep. And they're hoping that Muradin can only really control one of them at best, and that either Sonya or Malthael will be able to run a little bit amok here in that's that's not transparent. There we go. That was very transparent. Nobody saw. But we're expecting either Sonya or Malthael maybe to run a little bit of Mock. Muradin only really good at controlling a single target if they come in. Of course, Anna's got that sleep, and that's going to be crucial in providing peel. Reyna's knockback may be absolutely instrumental. So it does depend on how the teams play this. And they do have the. Ultimately, it does come down to execution, of course. But I'm reasonably confident that we'll see an aggressive dive strategy coming out from Loot Your Loot as we head into game number 1 in this best of 3 series. Prepare yourselves for battle, heroes. And on the left, in blue, we have Fat Under Ladders. And they are Odin Blue on the Reyna, Voldor on Muradin, Beardman on Leoric, Guggen on Anna, and Lasermehur on Li Ming. And in the red corner, we have Nadzubnaya on ETC, the Captain Gawawawa on the Malthael, Voldemarius on the Chromie, Katsuko's on Malfurion, Alteric on the Sonya. So let's take a look at those level 1 talents. Actually, let's not, because that's a nice slide from ETC onto Muradin. Nice grenade though from Anna, punishes ETC for coming in too aggressively. Muradin is in the route, but he's Muradin. He'll jump out and he'll second wind up. And then he'll be good to go again, whereas ETC will not. And that's a punishment from Li Ming, just waiting on the flank. Sonya might be next here, actually. Alteric spins and gets out to safety for now. But that's an early lesson there for Loot Your Loot. They've been slapped down by that flanking Li Ming, and they've got to be mindful of that. Lasermehur, nice plays there by the Li Ming. So we're going to say about the level 1 talents, and you can see Chromie going for this W build here at level 1 with the deep breathing. So really trying to go for more of the W-based talents, perhaps because, as I was saying, the Guardians will block some of those stamina. So Reyna not going for Exterminator is slightly interesting, not being able to clear those Shrine Guardians as quickly. And with Li Ming, that's not the greatest mage for clearing that either. So they're going to depend a lot on Leoric for Shrine clear when push comes to shove. But I suspect they're going to go for a slightly more team fight focused approach here. And just expect Reyna to do a lot of damage, as he already is, onto Sonya, who's gone down. Beautiful damage here from Odin Blue. Punishes the Sonya for stepping up, trying to soak there. So already we're seeing this aggression coming out from the blue team, when we were expecting the red team to be the more diving draft, the more punishing draft. Oh, ETC gets grenaded, gets stunned by Muradin, right? Nice little coordination here by Fat Under Ladders. You know, I think when we look at Division 7, sometimes we don't always expect the sharpest coordination, but these teams are playing very well so far here. Although it's only 2 minutes in and a long way yet to go. Hobbitses. So, back to the action for now. Both teams looking to get siege camps early, but the blue team has got their camp earlier, so now they're looking for the invade. Sonya taking again so much damage with the Anna sleep to control. Look, Alteric Sonya is getting punished again and again here by the razor sharp execution of Fat Under Ladders, and that's allowing the Under Ladders team to secure themselves another camp here. They haven't done the traditional trick of giving some vision to this camp here to focus on this well. So the camp will go round and try to get that tower. It does a significant amount of damage, but more, I think the reason the reason they'll be happy with that camp invade, as well as the Sonya kill, is the XP that the camp has given them. They're now 546 experience points to 0 in terms of mercenary value, and that is, that's not nothing. It doesn't sound like a huge amount, but if they can keep executing like that, it'll edge them more and more of an XP lead. And when you combine that with their 1,000 hero XP lead, that's giving them a whole level lead right now. Nonetheless, it is actually the red team that has a slight talent advantage in the form of the Chromie. She's got her level 7 talents already at level 5, Mobius Loop. But the red team don't seem to want to capitalize on that. They are fearing, I think, that the blue team had too much of a head start on that shrine, that they maybe were too close to level 7. So the red team saying, no, let's wait, let's consolidate. We don't mind giving up an early Punisher because we'll have our Bruiser camp. We'll be able to just sit back, clear it safely. And hopefully they'll be able to do that without too much difficulty. There's Bruiser camp coming out pretty far, so I think Reyna will be able to get that cleared up pretty swiftly. Meanwhile, the battle of the double soak, Leoric versus Sonya, and this is going quite nicely actually for Sonya. So Leoric does have Neil Peasant, so that should enable him to rotate very quickly and keep that soak going. But by the way, there was a gank on ETC at the top in the meantime because the Punisher jumped in, found ETC a little bit out. Now Alteric's got to be careful here because Muradin might be ready to stun it into the Immortal. Jump, and now there's the grenade, perfectly timed again from Ana. This time Alteric does get away with 200 HP. Muradin doesn't want to follow into those towers at the risk of the fort shooting at him, but they still don't have the ETC here with their main form of peel, and that's another stun from Muradin into another jump from the Punisher. This is really nicely executed here from Underladders, who seem to know when the timing is for when this Punisher is going to jump and get getting set up with stuns. But wow, what a snipe here from Voldemarius, catches onto the Li Ming and secures a counter kill, making it less devastating for Loot Your Loot than it was looking previously, giving them a little bit of catch-up XP. Still, it's a full level lead, and 6 kills to 1 now for the blue team, Fat Underladders, the free agent team here. And you can see here the value that Reyna's been getting with consistent sustained damage. Not as much damage as Chromie, it might be added, but the difference is Reyna's damage is being backed up by the Li Ming, whereas there isn't another range damage on the red team to back up that Chromie from range. So Sonya and Malthael are really having to step far forwards, and when they do, sometimes they're getting punished, or ETC's getting punished by that consistent damage that's coming out from Reyna and Li Ming. Now, Sonya wants to go for an invade here just before 10, but there's the grenade from Ana, followed by the stun from Muradin, but this time Alteric walks away because of that level 10, scaring them, making them not want to go in for that fight. There has been a disconnect. Do they want to pause? I think they will have to. I think they have the ability to pause themselves. But here's a Haymaker play onto Malfurion, followed by the Sleeper Mana. That's absolutely devastating. What a nice little play from Valar onto the Malfurion, already punishing with that Haymaker, the playmaker here from Valar. Now, Chromie has her ult though, brings out the Temporal Loop onto Ana. Can Sonya find the follow-up damage? No, she cannot. Now, Muradin is a little bit exposed, and bear in mind, he doesn't have Avatar, he could be vulnerable, but Sonya, the first to fall, and ETC with the grenade won't be able to be healed, and that's 2 kills for nothing there in favor of Fat from the Ladders. They're now 9 kills to 1, starting to look absolutely devastating here in game number 1 of this series. They're very confident with this draft. You can tell by the fact they've gone Haymaker, they've got a lot of confidence, a lot of aggression. They're saying, no, we're not going to sit around and wait for Sonya and Malthael to punish our backliners. We're bringing the fight to you. We're catching you with those stuns, with those Ana sleeps, with those Ana grenades, and they can't always handle the damage. But here comes an Entomb from Leoric, catches on to Chromie. She tried to walk all the way around, but couldn't handle that level of firepower from Li Ming and Reyna. So, now the team's level 12 to level 11. Still only a 1 level lead, so nothing insurmountable. Here comes the slide onto Reyna, but they don't have the follow-up damage ready to go because Chromie was just respawning. Now, here's the punish. Again, the stun from Muradin punishes Sonya, followed up with that Li Ming volley, and this time the Haymaker catches onto Malthael, knocks ETC out of the way, but that's a big mosh pit, immediately interrupted by Ana or Li Ming. I don't remember which one, but now the Temporal Loop is onto Muradin, but he just walks away because, of course, the 3 frontliners of the Loot Your Loot are already dead. There's nothing they can do to punish that Muradin when he gets loops back. So Chromie's there ready for those temporal loops, but they just can't make anything happen if they're not all together at the same time. Leoric, by the way, going up to that top lane, getting that soak and getting that push. If we take a look at that XP numbers, 9.4k soak by Leoric so far. Malfurion wants to punish that. Bearing in mind Leoric got Entomb, Malfurion has to be a touch careful because, of course, Ana and Reyna could rotate up not too slowly. Red team wants to go for their Bruiser camp now, but Chromie's setting up on the shrine, saying, look, I've got my 13, even if we don't have all of ours. And I've got a time trap here, but she gets caught in Entomb, Hides in the ice block though. Nice little hide from Chromie. Keeps herself alive. In comes the stun from Muradin. Haymaker to finish on ETC. Boom, that's a fist to the face. Chromie using the temporal loop defensively here. Muradin wants to chase onto Sonya. Fort zones out the damage for now. But Muradin getting so much value. He's just all up in their grill here. Valar on the Muradin. Just punishing them again and again. Has the sledgehammer on Stumble that's allowed him to stack those base quests very quickly. Also has the Perfect Storm stacking up 19 stacks so far and counting. Now going for the Bronzebeard Rage. That'll give more Shrine Clear, but also more consistent sustained damage on those frontliners who are diving in. Looks for the Stumble on Chromie. Doesn't quite catch it. And of course, more sustain healed onto Muradin. He gets time trapped. Can they follow up? Not just now because they're not quite there. Now this is a really nice decision here from Fat Under Ladders. They've left the Shrine on 39 out of 40 Guardians. As Muradin and Li Ming find another kill onto Sonya, but this time I think Muradin will pay for it with his life because the temporal loop comes out from Voldemarius on the Chromie and the slide from ETC. Now, ETC's got to walk away here because the Entomb is available from Yorick. He's looking for it, in fact, on the Malthael, on the Malfurion, but they step away for now. So, what we're seeing with Fat Under Ladders is they went for that, they got the 39 Guardians, and then they just went to get their own camps, consolidate their XP advantage, and just secure themselves a bit more advantage before finally capping, knowing that, as they did, that they got the Shrine anyway. Frozen Punisher spawns, 10 minutes in. Marching onto his mid-fort, jumps onto Chromie though. She's got to be careful, because of course, Li Ming always looking for those volleys from the flank. But, with no Muradin there to set up, I think they're a lot safer on the side of Lucio Loot, and so that's why they're getting themselves some nice clear onto this Frozen Punisher. It will go down now. Level 16's not quite here for Fat Under Ladders. This could be the time for Lucio Loot to engage. Malthael gets rooted in there, root your root I should say, by the Frozen Punisher, but no, the 16s have finally come in for Fat Under Ladders, and they now have seemingly full control of this game. They're 2 levels up, they're 1 talent up, they're 15 kills to 2, and we're only 11 minutes in. But is this the counter kill that was needed? They find the route onto Leoric. Can they punish? In comes the temporal loop. He's already used his Wraith Walkers in support. Did have his medallion available, I believe. Oh, Li Ming gets nanoed here, and she's still alive, but Sonya's just trying to create trouble on the back line. But no, Odin Blue on the Rain is just getting the sustained damage out, and Sonya eventually falls. That 2-level deficit was too much to surmount. Leoric did die, of course, but it's 3 kills. It might be a 4th. No, they're going to get a counter kill. In fact, onto Li Ming. The Tormented Souls comes out from Malthael. He's starting to chase here, and I'm not sure they have the wherewithal to deal with this. Hang on, Anna's getting picked off as well. Is this the greatest turnaround of all time by Gawawawa? ETC slides in, though. I don't think he realizes Malthael's not quite with him anymore. Slides into the fort, gets a little bit punished there for that over-optimism. They thought this was the comeback, but it wasn't quite time. Gawawawa now getting chased by Muradin and the Rainer. Can hide in the fort. The Leoric comes back to life. There's the Unstoppable from Malthael. Tries to dodge around the fort, but can't do it forever. And the Burning Rage finishes the job. Wow. I mean, that looked almost like an absolutely epic turnaround by Gawawawa's Malthael. The Tormented Souls came out, and it seemed like all the answers to deal with that were already gone. And we saw a lot of value there from Malthael, able to tear down some of those low health targets. But a slight overextension in the resulting chase, trying to squeeze every last drop. ETC was really hungry to make sure they could capitalize on the kills they got, but they weren't quite connected. And so under that fort, ETC got punished by this, again, the relentless damage that's coming out from Rainer here. 30k so far, Li Ming on 37. Now Li Ming throws out a volley, look, but that's an Entomb onto Malf and Chromie there, pretender targets. Malthael comes back in though. There's a lead from Sonya onto Leoric and Muradin. I don't think those two are too worried, and in fact, Sonya gets haymakers in, absolutely torn to pieces here by the blue team. But in comes the Tormented Souls now, tearing up Muradin. That's a nice counter kill. 1 for 1 so far, and the Tormented Souls still going onto Leoric, who is very far forwards here. Maybe they can punish. Malthael falling pretty low. There's a minus 50% healing onto Leoric to stop him getting too much value from his Cirque. Chromie starts to chase, throws out a volley. Malthael flirting with Leoric, and Leoric flirting back, but Leoric is the one who has to walk away. Looks for a mosh pit, but immediately slept and immediately punished. This Anna doing so much work with the setup. Well played to Guggen there with a nice volley from Laser Mihu on the Li Ming to follow. So Laser Mihu on the Li Ming definitely getting a lot of value, but I feel like a lot of it is set up by incredible CC both from the Anna and the Muradin in this game, who are doing fantastic crowd control job there for Fat Under Ladders. 22 kills to 6 though. What we have seen though in these last couple of fights is a little bit of bite back from Lucha Loot, who are really getting punished in the early game, but now are starting to show themselves to have some teeth. But that Entomb catches onto Sonya in the top lane, and punished. I mean, this is starting to look really tough for Alteryx, the Sonya player, because Lyric with the Entomb and Muradin with these stuns, Anna with these sleeps are really finding the Sonya and punishing. Now, here's a temporal loop onto Lyric. Probably not the ideal target because he does have that Wraith Walk. I guess that was the only target in range, and they really wanted to get some value out of the temporal loop. Stop Fat Under Ladders from just retreating. They're so hungry for kills now on the side of Lucha Loot, being as they are 23 kills to 6 down here. And of course, the Fat Under Ladders knocking on 20's door. But it just isn't quite all coming together for Lucha Loot just yet. But they've shown some real promise in the fight so far, and I think they might be looking for this last-ditch fight before level 20. This is the one. Muradin's been found out. He doesn't have anything to keep him alive just now. There was a slide there from ETC. Gets healed up to full by Anna. Valar still very hungry to go back in. Now the level 20s come in. That's an Entomb, but he hadn't picked the silencing Entomb just yet because it came in just before level 20. ETC looking to slide in onto Anna. May have a mosh pit available for her. Uses it onto one member. I think, yes, hitting onto 2 members. So 2 members in the mosh. Malthael starting to get some value, but in the meantime, Sonya dive on the east. And Muradin's just punishing Chromie. Li Ming gets the reset, and now ETC and Malthael are left completely on their own because Malfurion had to run all the way around the houses just to avoid being one-shot by Li Ming. And it's starting to look like a disaster for the red team. 4 members down. Yes, they got the Anna in response, but wow, this is not looking good for them just now because this is going to be a Punisher and level 20 and a 3-hero advantage marching on this bot lane. You gotta feel worried now if you're on the side of Lucha Loot. The Punisher marching down. 27 kills to 7, 16 minutes in. This has been an absolute bloodbath of a game. I mean, there have been fights where it's gone both ways. But overall, this blue team is finding picks again and again. Really nice execution by Fat Under Ladders. Finding in a CC into Li Ming combos. And we talked about at the start, maybe on the Shrines that's not so good. But here, they're playing the strengths of their comp, finding the picks outside the Shrine. Chromie gets the temporal loop onto Lyric. He doesn't mind too much, especially because he got the silencing Entomb to punish her. ETC slides in. They might be able to punish this Lyric. There's the Sonya who falls, and Chromie dies as well. But look at this Tormented Souls value from Malthael. There's enormous damage. Li Ming nearly dies, but Malthael eventually goes down. And of course, the Punisher all this time is just beating on that core, beating on it. And I think it's going to be GG, well played, going over to Fat Under Ladders in game number 1. Yeah, I mean, what a fantastic performance here by Fat Under Ladders. They looked so sharp here in game number 1. Really tight execution from the teams. Really well executed there. So, I mean, you've got to say that you got to give them credit for that. That's very, very strong performance. Lucha Loot, they had some really good ideas, and we saw the potential there. The glimmer of potential, particularly from the Malthael, who started to get some value on that Tormented Soul, watching when those CCs were down from Muradin, and then choosing that opportunity to go in. But they weren't quite collapsing on the same target, and I feel like Lyric and Muradin were doing a great job of pulling them apart a little bit. Muradin and Lyric really stepping up, and then usually haymakering somebody, often unfortunately Sonya, into that backline just to get some punishment, to get pounded by Reina and Li Ming and Dinah as well. Still, it's a best of 3 series, and there are, of course, at least one more game to play. Are they qualified for playoffs? Ask the chat. As far as I know, neither of these teams are qualified for playoffs. I think they might not even be able to, even if they win today. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, I'm fairly sure that these teams can't qualify for playoffs anymore. Now, it might be that they may be able to if other teams drop out or something like that. So, I mean, of course, ultimately the teams come in to Heroes Lounge because they want to play competitive Heroes of the Storm, and that's what they're doing. So there was a few key elements there of Fat Under Ladder's success in game number 1. I think the Muradin aggression from Valar was really crucial in creating a lot of space for them, a lot of space for Li Ming and Reyna to kind of do whatever they wanted, more or less. Also bringing people in with Haymaker, punishing Sonya anytime Sonya stepped a millimeter out of position. Bang! Stormbolt to the face. Bang! A grenade from Ana. Bang! A combo from Li Ming. And that was usually a dead Sonya. I really like the coordination of Fat Under Ladders as well. Their ability to focus that single target whenever somebody got CC'd. So I'm going to just take a 30-second break. We will be back in, I think, literally a handful of seconds. But don't go anywhere because I'll be back in just a second. Welcome back. You're watching Heroes Lounge Division 7, where Fat Under Ladders are one game up against their opponents Loot Your Loot in a best of 3 series. And I'm Karis, and I'm going to be bringing you games 2 and potentially 3 as well. So we do have some news about the map though, which is that Loot Your Loot as the losers of game number 1 had the choice of first pick or map pick for game number 2. They've gone for map pick and they've chosen Alterac Pass for game number 2. So if we look how that looks on the map pool here, we can see Alterac Pass picked up by them. That's very interesting because that's a very different style of gameplay. So we're expecting them to have a little bit of a trick up their sleeves, Loot Your Loot. Possibly going to try something new here and maybe some kind of macro play and really keep their opponents guessing. So we will see how that plays out in game number 2. I mean, so there's a few different ways you can play Alterac, but I think the most likely thing that's going to happen here, and I suspect the reason Loot Your Loot have picked it is they're going to play for macro, and we may see, focus on picking those global heroes early on in the draft. Maybe we'll see the Dahaka, maybe we'll see Abathur, maybe we'll even see the Lost Vikings, and they're going to try and play the macro game, I suspect, because what we saw from Fat Under Ladders, very, very, very well executed in game number 1 was, precision kills, strong team fighting, strong space in the fights, and point control as well. So Loot Your Loot may try to show their edge in the macro game, but we will see about that. So we're just waiting for these teams to get set up, and then we'll be ready to go into game number 2 in this best of 3 series between Fat Under Ladders and Loot Your Loot. Which I assume stands for LOL. Wait, that's not how standing for works. Anyway, we will see in just a second. And a reminder, once again, that the Heroes Lounge Draw Show where you can see the teams being drawn for the playoff groups, will be taking place this weekend on this channel on Sunday the 8th of November at around 8 Central European time. So tune in for that, when there'll be Narsha hosting as the teams are drawn live into the playoff groups. So we're now going to head into the draft in game number 2. And here we are at Alterac Pass. And first pick is once again available for Fat Under Ladders, because Loot Your Loot chose map pick. So first we have to get the bands, the first 2 bands in from each of these teams. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Gazlo ban again, and a Diva ban again maybe from Fat Under Ladders. However, as I said, they did get nerfed in the last patch very slightly, so we might see something a bit different. Nope, there's that Gazlo ban again. I wouldn't be surprised to see something excuse me, a bit more macro focused in the bans, but we'll see as the teams start to get the bans in. We will also get the betting started, so you can bet on virtual points on who you think will win game number 2 by typing !bet space A space a number bet on Fat Under Ladders for game number 2, or !bet space B space a number for Loot Your Loot. And if you want to see how many points you've got, you can type !points. So, in terms of bans, we've seen the Joanna ban again from Loot Your Loot. They really don't like playing against that Joanna, even here on Alterac Pass, where it's less about those tight points. ETC banned now from Fat Under Ladders. They obviously felt ETC was one of the stronger assets of Loot Your Loot in game number 1 and was giving a good engage potential to their opponents. Now that does leave Diva open. The question is, are Loot Your Loot going to ban it? Or are they going to say, let's leave it open, let's risk it for a biscuit? They could still also ban like a macro focused hero, as we said. No, they're banning their Li Ming. So really trying to ban out the playstyle that really punished them in game number 1. A good call, and we saw the value of LaserMihu on Li Ming, but LaserMihu says, you know what? I don't need Li Ming. I'm going to go for Chromie and take your hero away from you at the same time. So really nice little draft mind games going on here by Fat Under Ladders. And then immediately we see the response pickup of the Muradin by Loot Your Loot. So both of these teams trying to steal away heroes from each other to try to kind of deny that. The danger, of course, with that strategy is that you can end up pushing yourself onto heroes you're not so confident with. However, we do know that Loot Your Loot play Muradin, and they've got a 50% win rate with him this season. So they're going to be reasonably confident on him going into this game. Now there's an Imperious pickup by Valar. So another nice tank engage here. I assume that's going to be tank because it's being played by Valar there, and he's more commonly picked up as a tank than as an offlaner. But they could still flex that, of course. Swap round still to come. Under Ladders getting some excitement here in the chat. Cassia, another solid DPS pickup, but again, you look at that engage potential. If Valar gets the skewer, you've got the Chromie damage on top. I love this Ana ban by Loot Your Loot. I think Ana was absolutely pivotal in game number 1 for Under Ladders. So definitely not wanting more of that grenade follow-up. And of course, again, we see that Loot Your Loot do have the first pick of the healer, so they can maybe go for something here and try and choke those healers. I suspect they may go for the Malfurion again and look for a Stormbolt into Roots combination. One thing we haven't seen yet from Lucha Loot is their strategy for the map. Now, Lunara, fine, you know, she can do camps, she can do a bit of clear, but that's not something that's unique to Alterac Pass. And obviously, when you pick Alterac Pass, usually you have a game plan. Now, there's a Brightwing pickup. Now, she does have global potential, but it's not quite the same because typically you want the Brightwing close to the action because of the polymorph value and the immediate cleanse that you sometimes need to give before you can give the phase shift. So, you know, particularly against a lockdown and blow up style gameplay, which is what Underladders do. You know, Brightwing doesn't want to be waiting to Zed immediate, you know, first, you know, from across the map here against this draft. She wants to be throwing out the spell armor first, cleansing away that Imperious Skewer, and then doing the phase shift in the to deal with the follow-up damage. Whether that's going to play out like that, I'm not sure, because that's their main global at the moment. Of course, they can still go an offlaner here. They can still whip out that Dahaka. They could still even whip out the Vikings. I don't think we'll see the Vikings, but we could see Dahaka, for example. We could see Ragnaros, a very confident hero on Alterac Pass, using that lava wave to global soak all the time. They've gone for the Chen, which is not globally minded. But what it does provide, of course, the Chen, is the ability to dive onto Chromie and really threaten her. The problem with that is that Junkrat and Imperious and Cassia can provide a lot of disruption to that, and Chromie maybe can just hide in her stasis. So I think Chen's got to be a bit careful here. But what we're definitely seeing again from Lucha Loot is an aggressive draft, an aggressive divey draft, but with the addition of a bit more range damage. They don't have to commit all into that dive. So what we saw in game number 1 was that Sonya felt obliged to step forwards a lot, got punished for that. I think we won't see as much of that from Chen and Muradin in this game. We can see a little bit more caution, and then they'll know when to pull the trigger with Chen and commit for the kill. Nevertheless, we'll see, of course, as always, it comes down to execution as we go into game number 2 in this best of 3 series. And in the blue corner on the left, we have the free agent team of Underladders with Plumpbeacon on the Junkrat, Guggen on Rhaegar, Valar on Imperious, Lasermihu this time on the Rhaegar, and Bergman on the Cassia. And in the red corner, their opponents are Loot Your Loot, and they are Nadzobnaya on the Muradin, Voldemarius on the Lunara, Katsukeza on the Brightwing, Altaric on the Kael'thas, and in the offlane, Gawalawa on the Chen. Level 1 talents are in for both of these teams. Chromie going for the deep breathing. Again, it's a different Chromie this time, but it's the same deep breathing picked up. Now, Rhaegar jumps in, looks for a little bite. Muradin going for third wind. Now, what that tells to me about the way Nadzobnaya and the Lucha Loot team want to play this, as in comes a skewer from Imperious. Lovely response from Katsukoza on the Brightwing to Zed in immediately. Now, of course, that's going to be on cooldown for a little while. So now there's nothing to save Kael'thas. So Kael'thas has got to be more careful now and can't be stepping up to try to get those get that damage out onto Chromie like that, because of course Brightwing doesn't have the phase shift available just now. In fact, if we take a look, it's going to be back up in 14 seconds, probably a bit less because this minion wave will bring it down by 5 seconds or so. In the meantime, at the top lane, you've got Chen versus Junkrat, neither player feeling too threatened there. So, before all of that happened, all that skewering, oh, maybe there's more skewering. Brightwing, got to be careful. Nice little dodge, though. Dodges some of that Chromie damage and stays alive for now. What I was going to say is that third wind style suggests they may play for more of a kind of poke and retreat style, and only punish when they want to with that, and then pull the trigger with the Chen Storm Earth and Fire Talent. Now, XP does get picked up by Kael'thas. Now, this is a really nice call from LuchaLoot that they picked up this siege camp early, nice and early, gets that rolling in the mid lane, which means immediately the blue team has to react to it. And of course, when the blue team goes to take their own camp, it means they're not defending mid so fervently. So I would like to see a bit more aggression in one of the lanes, ideally the mid from the red team, but they've chosen not to do that. They're going to go and spread that aggression onto other lanes, knowing as they do, the blue team are both defending mid and securing their own camps, and maybe they can get some tower damage down here. And of course, the reason it's good to pick up that camp earlier is because the earlier you pick it up, the earlier it cools down. That cooldown clock is already ticking. It's got 43 seconds left, and that'll be another time to go to camp again for LuchaLoot. So nice camp play already from them, showing confidence in the map, showing understanding of the camp timings. And so now they're going to focus on clearing this mid, and then they will think about going to get another camp for themselves. Now, Lunara's got to be careful here not to get skewered. The Brightwing does have the phase shift available, but not if Lunara's already dead, as happened here. Blue team's camp is getting cleared for free, though, so I don't think the red team are too worried about the situation so far. Now, though, there is a chance to go straight for the siege camp again, and you can see Cactus Hoser on the Brightwing already ready to go to that camp, but of course we'll need one of the DPSs to help her there. However, because the objective has been picked up, the red team makes the call to go and contest that. Now, Chromie does have that talent advantage in the form of the level 7 that came in at level 5. Muradin steps up, throws out a Stormbolt, doesn't quite catch on to Cassia. Plenty of time though. Brightwing goes hunting for Imperius. Now Chen jumps in, wants to be aggressive onto that back line, but what Gawawa has done once again is create the space that was needed for the red team to decap that objective. Now, what I would love to see here from the red team is some Muradin and Chen to zone at this objective, while Kael'thas and Brightwing maybe go towards picking up that siege camp again. But no, they're actually going to get some soak, but that's maybe giving space to Imperius here to start capping. You don't want to be leaving just a flimsy range DPS to contest this objective, because the ultimate could get jumped on by Imperius and very, very quickly punished. And Kael'thas cannot step in to interrupt this. Chen can't get there, and that might be the objective given away here. Chen comes in, takes a pounding. Phase shift from Brightwing means Chen's very healthy, may start diving. In comes Muradin with the Stormbolt. Kael'thas just using the gravity up to keep himself alive, because Imperius is causing a lot of havoc on that backline. But in comes the damage onto Chromie, but Muradin punished by the skewer. Imperius once more wants to catch into that Kael'thas. No phase shift available for Brightwing just now, but Junkrat has died. 2.1 so far in favour of LuchaLoot, but the objective has gone over to their opponents, Fat under Ladders. Excuse the coughing. But that was a very nice fight for LuchaLoot, but it was just too late. If they'd done all of that 5 seconds earlier, they would have won the fight and held the objective. Now Lunara just gets found out by the length of that Imperius skewer. I think it's quite easy to underestimate, and Valar really hungry to punish anybody who looks out of position, as we saw, by the way, in game number 1 as well, but on the Muradin in that case. Now, this Chromie here, Laser Mihu, is going for the Slowing Sam, not going for the Temporal Loop that we saw from their opponents in game number 1. So definitely changing things up between the two different players. Oh, Cassia got to be quite careful there, the Fort putting out a bit of damage. And the cavalry still marching on in that bot lane. Lunara's going to try to clear here, but she's got to be careful because Imperius is coming straight over that mud, and Lunara's just begging to get skewered. Lovely use of Medallion. Might have kept her alive here. In comes the phase shift from Brightwing, but she doesn't have a level 10 to keep Lunara alive even more. But now, here's the follow-up damage from Muradin, from Kael'thas. Huge flame strike. Ultimate got to be careful though. In comes the skewer from Imperius. And again, Kael'thas gets punished by that skewer of Valar. In the top lane, of course, Gawawa on the Chen, constantly soaking. In fact, if we take a look at those XP numbers, you'll see that Chen's soaked the most in the game at 5k. Junkrat not too far behind though on 4.8, but still, Chen doing a very nice job of soaking so far, and wants to keep it up in the mid lane. Immediately, red team goes to their camp again. They understand how valuable the camp is on this map. But Chen's got to not get skewered. Nice little dodge with the little flank kick, but still gets skewered in the end because Imperius comes in. That's a stagger though. Will take a lot of the edge of that damage off if Brightwing can get in there with a phase shift, or with, in this case, just with the pixie dust to keep the armor. And Imperius ultimately had to use his heroic, and that's a big cooldown. That is a big cooldown, which means that when the level 10 comes in for Lucha Loot, they could look for that fight to try and punish the fact that Imperius doesn't have his heroic. In a sense, it'd be 5 10s versus 4 if Lucha Loot take a fight now in this next 45 seconds. But they don't seem to be doing that. Instead, what they're going for is a bit more soak, try and capitalize on the pressure that their camp is asserting mid, and use that to secure themselves some soak and some time.
Looks like we're
But
gonna have another prison camp to knock down.
Still, it's early doors. And already we can see Lucha Loot doing a lot better than they were at this point in last game. They are slightly down on kills, but not significantly. And more importantly, they're very close on the XP as well. Imperius goes hunting at the top lane. I think Junkrat's just trying to secure that top fort. And Imperius is creating the space, but Junkrat is split from the team. This is the moment where Lucha Loot are going to try to engage. Imperius does have his heroic back, pops it immediately with the Ancestral on top. Very healthy he is now. Chen, if he can avoid getting skewered, he can pop his Storm Earth and Fire and get some value. Can he get it off? Yes, he can. Immediately the Chens go in. Kael'thas is there to follow up. The Root comes out from the Chens. Absolutely devastated to Cassia. Can they finish the job? Yes, they can. Gawalawa on fire here. 2 kills already. And now Chromie's got to be careful. Mirrodin with the Avatar can chase for a long time. Not too worried about the Imperius skewer. And again, absolutely huge value from Gawalawa, who was one of the key players for Lucha Loot in game number 1. Chromie with a poke though. I was going to say will stop that from being capped. Won't actually. It was just too late. Chromie was very afraid being on 130 HP. Now got to be careful. Found out by Voldemarius, who was Chromie in the last game. So Chromie on Chromie action in a sense, but with a time delay as you would expect from a Chromie. Now they're going to punish Imperius as well. Lovely time polymorph from the right wing. This is more like it from Lucha Loot. They really know what they're doing here. I like that stun into polymorph combination. They didn't quite manage to secure the kill on Imperius for now because Lunara was still getting there, having just killed the Chromie. But look, they've equalized on the talents. They've got themselves an objective, and they've equalized almost on experience as well. Rhaegar in the bot lane getting extra soak, trying to just take an edge in soak and keep that lane far enough out that when that cavalry comes down the bot lane, it won't do a great deal. But that cavalry at the top lane is going to look at it. Kael'thas, got to be careful of those Junkrat mines. Plumpykin looking for trouble. So, Nads of Naya steps up, wants to create space. Cavalry marching through the mid. There's the slowing sound from Chromie. Wants to discourage Mirrodin or any other melees from stepping into that tower range, and has successfully discouraged it. So, Lucha Loot going to commit their resources to the top. Watch out for this Chen heroic cooldown. In comes Mirrodin, looks for the Stormbolt. Chen ult is up in 3 seconds through the Boogie Wonderland. Storm Earth and Fire. Thinking about stepping in. He has the heroic available. Prep twists the stagger though. Might not have the tankiness to take it at this moment, especially because that Imperius skewer is still available. And Imperius looking for the flank. Valar, we know how confident he is on those engages. Mirrodin stepping away. Of course, Lunara is not here with Lucha Loot, so this is why Underladders are hunting for that 5v4. In comes the skew. Look at the polymorph though from Cactus Koza. Absolutely destroyed Imperius. The Ancestral had to come out immediately, as well as the Imperius ult. But Brightwing does get picked off by that damage of Chromie, Cassia, and the Imperius missiles. Mirrodin's going to be next because he doesn't have a healer, but Imperius dies. If Chen can live here, if he can get the Boogie Wonderland off, and he has, he's going to start chasing, looking for the Cassia, the triple pandas going in. Chromie hides in the stasis for now, and that will be enough space with the Junkrat mind as well to keep the Chens off Chromie and stop that turning into a 2-for-2. I mean, a 3-for-2, sorry, but I mean, that almost was epic for Lucha Loot, but Fat and the Ladders just clinching the edge there, just by keeping so many heals on Imperius that it allowed the space for him to secure that Brightwing kill, even though he was under a serious amount of CT, a serious amount of firepower. They got the Brightwing kill, and ultimately that staggered on to more kills as well. So, well, level 13 talents are in for both teams, of course. And if we take a look, one thing I'm slightly surprised by is that Brightwing's gone for this Safety Dust at level 13 instead of the Spell Armor. Now, the idea of the Safety Dust, if I can guess, is that it amplifies the phase shift as well. So you can absolutely do an enormous heal on one person. You throw out the dust on that person and then phase shift to them, and they get full healed. Or you can throw dust and blink heal. Amplifies the blink heal as well. It's very powerful in that sense. I just have the slight feeling that 55 spell armor, which is the other option there, might have given just a little bit more time for Brightwing to create the to get the phase shift off. You know, because all of that main damage that's coming out, the Chromie volleys and of course the Junkrat grenades, are mostly ability damage, and that is going to, you know, that would have been really blocked by the phase spell armor at level 13, with the potential, of course, of getting the AoE spell armor at level 20. But as I say, that will give more burst, more blink healing from this. But this is a really nice boss pickup here by LuchaLute, knowing exactly where their opponents were and using that knowledge to secure themselves a boss. Now the boss isn't particularly strong here on Alterac Pass, but it will get themselves this top 4. That'll give them some nice trickle XP. It'll give them a little bit more space, open up that top lane. And of course, once they clear that bottom boss, which I don't think has got any danger of taking a keep, it'll be a fort for a fort. So I think LuchaLute will be reasonably happy with how that's gone there. And of course, they are now level 16. They got themselves the time to get themselves level 16. They'll probably go for the siege camp. If I've seen one thing from LuchaLute, is they value this siege camp quite a lot, as well they should, here on Alterac Pass, and their opponents are doing likewise in the blue corner. We're 13 minutes in, game number 2 in this best of 3 series between Division 7's Fat Underladders, the free agent team, and Loot Your Loot. 8 kills to 6 in favour of the blue team, and they are also a fort up, but that's not insurmountable by any stretch. It's the level difference that's going to really make LuchaLute panic. And why? Because Chromie's got her level 20 now. And what is that talent going to be? It's going to be the piercing sands. Now, on top of everything else that does, don't forget it will also tear through those Chen Panda Pals and really threatening to kill him. But now here's a big stun from Muradin with a polymorph to follow. This might be Cassia dead already. The Ancestral can't quite connect. Imperius has to use his shield, throws it into a volley onto Muradin. Might be kept alive for now. The Ancestral's still on short cooldown for 2 more seconds. Maybe they can keep Imperius alive. If he lives 2 more seconds, there'll be an Ancestral. Is it coming out? There's the shield. There's the Ancestral. No, it's just not gone off again. Beautiful focus. Beautiful attention to kill the required targets here by LuchaLute. They're massively turning this game around. They're going to bring themselves back in. Of course, Chromie does have her 20. We'll start throwing out those volleys. We'll start putting out serious damage. But look at Brightwing with these blink heals, with the sustain heal. And of course, the dusted target will heal for more, giving up more sustain potential from the Brightwing. That's one of the advantages. Muradin throws out the stun, catches onto Chromie. She's not too worried because she's still got the slowing sands there to peel for her. And of course, the clock is ticking on this objective. With Imperius still there for 20, this should be going LuchaLute's way. Junkrat just wants to throw in some poke. They just want to kind of grind this down, but they've got no chance of contesting it. I'm slightly surprised that Fat Underlads didn't go for their own siege camp here, knowing as they did that they couldn't stop that objective being capped. They could have got themselves a nice little camp to take a little bit of the edge off that mid objective. But nonetheless, they're still a level up. They're just playing for the 20. What they're saying right now in the Fat Underladders comms, I bet, is just stall. Just don't die now while this cavalry's pushing. We get the 20, then we take the fight. We take whatever we like once we've got that 20. But for now, we just play safe. We don't get caught. And they've got to be a bit cautious now. They're stepping quite far forwards here when they don't need to before the 20. Of course, they still have that Chromie 20 advantage, but they don't need to risk it for a biscuit. Muradin jumps in, looks for the stun onto Imperius. Does have every heroic available though on the side of the blue team. In comes the Riptire, catches onto Chen. Chen's pretty happy if he can survive this, if he can get his ult off, but he can't because the burst damage is too big from Cassia. And maybe this is the beginning of the end for the red team. Now they start the chase. The ball lining's there. It's bouncy time. It doesn't have the infinite upgrade yet because she hadn't picked it. Imperius comes in, does have his shield. Does he have the level 20 talent on it? No, he hasn't picked his level 20 yet, but he finds the snipe anyway onto Brightwing. Absolutely huge there. Lovely aim there from Valar on the Imperius, catching all the combo onto Brightwing like a Li Ming. And that was the end of Brightwing. And that's 2 kills for nothing. And immediately the edge has been taken off. All of that cavalry push, all of that work that we saw Lucha Loot doing, undone by a single magnificent engage here from the blue team back on the ladders. They want to get 2-0 here. They want to show their strength as a free agent team. They want to, in their pioneering season of Heroes Lounge, they want to show what they're capable of, and they are trying to do just that. They want to close out this game, but it's not over yet. It's neck and neck on structures, and soon it'll be neck and neck on talents if Lucha Loot can avoid getting caught until they get level 20. They're stepping up quite far forwards for that XP. They could just play a little bit safer here. And they also have to keep eyes on bosses. Now, where are the Lunara Wisps on this map? So let's take a look at the vision from Lunara's point of view. That is not Lunara, that's Chen. But it's the same. Here's Lunara, and we can see they are keeping eyes on this boss. But look, they don't know where the enemy team is, and they're going immediately for this boss. But in comes the blue team, little known to the red team. They're marching in. Now, they have marched through this wave, so the red team knows exactly what's going on. It's a trap. They're not going for the boss. Imperius steps up, wants to find the skewer, but checks the bush very sensibly first, because Bribing was ready with that polymorph to punish Imperius if he came in. Comes out a living bomb from Kael'thas, and we're seeing a lot of living bomb value in this game. Look, 42,000 damage done by the Kael'thas here. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Only 41k by the Chromie, so not much in it between the two mages here. These two mage players really know their stuff, but the red team does have to clear that camp mid, so Kael'thas goes there. Now, that gives a little bit of space for the blue team to go for the boss. Now, I'm surprised the red team hasn't kept an eye on this, and they've chosen to give this, because that camp was cleared with one wave, and it seems like the red team are saying we're going to give the boss confidence, or are they going to go trade and take that top boss? It looks like they are just going to take the camp, get that rolling in the mid. Now, the camp, I'll be honest, the camp on this map to me is almost as strong as a boss, because the bosses on this map are quite weak and the camp is quite strong. But fundamentally, the red team does have to defend this boss that's going in the bot lane, take the edge off it. They don't have to get it to zero. What I would love to see Lucha Loot doing now is take half of this boss's HP up, not the whole thing, maybe 3/4, and then go into contest the top boss or contest the objective as needed. If, however, they have decided that they're giving this top boss, then what they can do is they can take this boss down fully and not take any keep damage, and then go and do the half boss play on the top lane. Fundamentally, you don't need to get that boss to zero, because it's not going to, you know, if it's going in at quarter health, at half health, it's not going to take the keep. And basically at this point in the game, what matters is it taking the keep or not? It doesn't really matter if it's taking those towers. Now, again, the red team can just go and take... They've got 50 seconds. I think they've got to play the patient game. They've got to just be a bit patient and say, look, we can just go and clear half this boss's health. We don't need to chase... We don't need to contest the objective with 50 seconds left. But they really want to fight somehow. I think there's a bit of disagreement, actually, because Chen and Kael'thas are not quite on the same page here. And they're debating whether they should be going for this boss or not. I think Lunara is there getting some damage on it. That's enough. For me, that's enough. And then I think they could just come and contest now. But Lunara needs to be moving towards her team. You can't be splitting this late in the game, because Kael'thas is just going to get found out. Phase Shift is available, but no. Using the Blink Heal, using the Invisible Friends. Can they keep the Kael'thas alive? Yes, they have. Now, is Chen going to die? Brightwing has to save Chen right now, because otherwise he's going to die, because he doesn't have the ultimate available. No, the Phase Shift just a touch too late. Chen goes down. One person dead already, but maybe they punish Imperius. Yes, they have. The Ancestral Healing just misses like the Phase Shift did, and Phase Shift is available right now, so Brightwing can start using it to go on top of that Muradin, get him to full health, allowing to chase on the Cassia, but they're choosing to stall. Get the decap, reflect on where they are. 4v4, 44 seconds till Chen's alive, 48 till Imperius. Both teams going for their siege camp immediately. This is fantastically tense here in game number 2 in this best of 3 series. Both of these Division 7 teams looking razor sharp, really feeling under the pressure here later on. Kael'thas used his medallion. I believe that's the only medallion that was used in that fight. And we can see the medallion cooldown there at the top. So maybe the medallion advantage will come into play in this next fight. Chen still has his heroic available, and as does everyone else, by the way, but the Chen heroic has been so important. The question is, can Imperius skewer the Chen while he's trying to cast? If he can, Chen may die. If he can't, I think Chen's going to get serious value. Bear in mind, Chen still has a medallion available, so what we might see from Chen is him pressing the medallion and then pressing his heroic. And of course he'll be unstoppable if somebody tries to skewer him. Chen steps up, wants to go in, wants to create that space. Lunara dodges and presses a medallion. Now there's a polymorph onto Imperius. He's taking a lot of damage. In comes the Phoenix, but also in comes the Riptide. Catches onto 2. Chen, can he get the Storm and fire off? Yes, he can. Here they go. Boogie Wonderland starts to chase onto Chromie. She's going to have to hide in her stasis for a few seconds. How long will that save her for, though? Lady Mahoo starts to run away. The Chens are still going, creating so much space. Kael'thas at the back trying to clear the objective. This might not be the perfect time for it because, of course, they're just trying to create the space, but Junkrat gets found out by Muradin, who's starting to provide so much tanking. No, Kael'thas gets caught in the slowing sands, and the phase shift wasn't quite there in time to deal with the damage that came in from Chromie, who's starting to absolutely tear people apart. 1-for-1, 4v4. The objective, though, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, and it will be capped by the red team. But look at that keep, taking damage in the mid lane. Now, the cavalry will help to clear that, but I think the red team will get back and deal with it and start marching towards the left of the map. Absolutely phenomenal fighting again from both of these teams, and we saw the value. I mean, it looked like it not quite worked. So first of all, you got the Chen ult off. That chased everyone as soon as the Boogie Wonderland from Chen went off. We saw the whole blue team run for the hills. They were like, we can't handle this because Chen will just run at us and tear down the Chen. Sorry, to tear down the Chromie, tear down the Rhaegar, tear down the Junkrat. Ultimately, Junkrat did get found out by the Muradin, but Kael'thas got stuck in those slowing sands from Chromie. Did get picked off, and of course he didn't have his medallion available because he'd used it in the previous fight. Every second, every cooldown is counting in these fights. Everything is really being pushed to the wire. Now, what are the red team going to do here? I suspect they have to go for a second keep. They can't directly finish the bot lane because there's still 40 armor on that core. But this is crucial here for Lucha Loot. They want to take it to game number 3. And the pressure is mounting on the blue team. How do they defend here? The cavalry has taken a second keep at the top. Now, how do the red team end here? I don't think they can end directly because the cavalry has gone down. However, because 2 keeps are down, 1 boss will be GG. And already we see the red team angling down towards the bottom, looking for that boss. But, of course, the blue team know exactly what's going on. In fact, if we take a look at the vision of the blue team here, and maybe they don't know what's going on. I think they may not have sniffed this out. But look, if we take a... Imperius is going to have a look. They suspect it now. And over here, the boss is now down to 1/3. Will Bat Under Ladders be in time? 10% HP. The boss is going to get capped here. I don't think the blue team's in time. The boss is capped. Is going on a 20 armor core. Imperius? Is he in time? He might be in time. No, he's not. The objective has been capped. But Imperius taking a bunch of damage, but it's the double ancestral, chops him up to fall, uses the medallion, but the Chen ult couldn't be interrupted because Imperius wasn't there to skewer it, and now the Chen are starting to chase onto Junkrat. Maybe they catch Chromie as well. Chromie does manage to escape. But Cassia is the next to fall, is 2 down, and a boss marching towards core. Imperius has a skewer, has a medallion, has a cleanse from Rhaegar. There's the flame strike, couldn't quite sidestep it. There's the Chromie slowing sounds to try and create space, but no, Imperius will fall as well. And it's 3 members dead, and a boss marching on a 20 armor core. This looks like it may well be game here, as Lucha Loot want to take it to game number 3. In comes the damage from Kael'thas, clears the wave. They start to put the pressure onto core. Chromie, though, will provide some serious output. If you look at these damage numbers now, 70k from Chromie, and climbing right now because she has that pierce, will put the pressure, but no, this core is surely going down. Lunara making short work of it with the help of that boss, with the help of her team. Kael'thas goes down, but it doesn't matter because the core is down. GG, well played, Lucha Loot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was intense. And we see now why Lucha Loot picked Alterac Pass here for game number 2. Absolutely incredible performance from them. I mean, let's quickly just take a look at the scores because you can see what a fantastically close game here. And just look at 13 kills to 13, and you have 73k to 75k on the primary DPS here from Chromie and Kael'thas, and then you've got Junkrat and Lunara also providing backup damage. The tanks, Muradin and Imperius, they were so much under fire. But I mean, absolutely phenomenal performance from both of these teams. Here's the talents quickly if you want to take a screenshot. see what the players were picking up there. But yeah, I mean, you've got to say what an incredible performance here from Lucha Loot. And it looked like they were struggling in some moments of that game. They were down forts at some point. They were down kills. They were down XP, but they never cracked. And I think that was a big difference. In game number 1, they sort of all fell apart a little bit when they got punished. Here, when they took a beating, they actually said, no, you know what, we know what our strengths are. We'll just regroup and play around our strengths. Gawawa, though, on the Chen, creating such disruption in those team fights that the blue team, Fat and the Ladders, couldn't really handle it. They had the Imperious Skewer. It felt like when the Imperious wasn't interrupting it, that's when they lost the fights. And ultimately, that meant Imperious had to be in a very specific place and time. Sometimes that meant he was getting punished. Sometimes that meant Junkrat was getting punished, as we saw in another fight. So, definitely, the Gawawa on the Chen creating a lot of value for their team. Well, that was game 2. We will shortly be going to a game number 3. But there is still plenty of time for the teams to set up. I mean, you've got to say there's a lot to assess from that game. You had the potential. You had some fantastic plays here from both of these teams. I really liked the way Fat and the Ladders continue to focus and punish single targets. When they were getting those Imperious Skewers onto Brightwing, onto Kael'thas, they were absolutely turning that into kills every time with the follow-up damage from Chromium, with the Junkrat. When they weren't, when Imperious was being pulled apart, when Brightwing was creating space, when the polymorphs were on point, credit to Cactus Hoser for that. But absolutely when they weren't, then that's when the team was able to be pulled apart. And again, I really like the camp, the understanding by Lucha Loot of camp timings on Alterac Pass. They showed their understanding of the map. They showed that they knew when to give the boss and not to contest it ruthlessly, because running through a choke point controlled by a Chromium Imperious isn't always wise. And they understood that, and that's non-trivial game understanding. And I think it's quite impressive play from these two Division 7 teams, really showing some solid strengths. And of course, we've got one more game left in this series. So definitely some excitement to be had here in Heroes Lounge Division 7. And yet another reminder from me, on Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 8th of November, we have the Heroes Lounge draw show for the EU playoffs, because of course this is the last week of regular season Heroes Lounge, and we go into our playoffs, the Rare Cup, the Epic Cup, the Legendary Cup, and the Mythic Championship. And I'm just checking the teams. So I'm just checking the teams, and that is where the groups are drawn, because our playoffs have a group stage where the top 8 teams from each of the divisions go into a group stage, and then from those groups, the winning teams from each of the groups go into the final playoff days, which are later in the month. And you can check out the schedule for all of that on the Heroes Lounge website, heroeslounge.gg, or get in our Discord, which you can find by typing !Discord in the chat, I hope. And if you can't, then sorry. We're just waiting for the teams to get set up, but we do have a map pick coming in from the two teams. So I think Loot Your Loot have got map pick because Fat and the Ladders wanted first pick. So that's interesting, because Loot Your Loot have actually picked the map in every single game in this best of 3. So if we take a look at the map pick as it comes in here, Alterac Pass was already picked. I don't know why I've Seen that. But Battlefield of Eternity. There we go. Battlefield of Eternity has been picked up by Loot Your Loot for game number 3. That's going to be, I mean, again, it's something quite different from both what we saw in game number 1 and what we saw in game number 2. So I think we are going to be in for something a little bit different here in game number 3. I mean, so Battlefield of Eternity, you tend to need race heroes. And the reason you see such a prioritization for race heroes here on Battlefield is because, unlike, say, Infernal Shrines, on Battlefield, the heroes that are good at capturing the objective are the same heroes that are good at defending an objective if you lose it. So if, for example, you draft a hero with no PvE damage, no ability to kill an immortal, not only are you more likely to lose the immortal, but you're more likely to be unable to defend it when the enemy team wins it. So that's why we'll probably see a focus on heroes with ranged damage on the immortal. We'll probably see the Li Ming get very highly prioritized by these teams. I suspect it's going in the first ban phase. I think it was so pivotal for Fat Under Ladders in game number 1 that I think Loot Your Loot are just going to ban it out here in game number 3 here on Battlefield, because of course it's strong. It's particularly strong for the map, and actually we saw that Fat Under Ladders picked it on a map where she's not very good on Infernal Shrines, and they were devastating with her. So probably on Battlefield of Eternity there'd be a real force to be reckoned with. So I think Loot Your Loot will either ban that or pick it. Well, of course, Fat Under Ladders have first pick, having opted for that after they lost game number 2. So I think we'll see Li Ming banned in the first phase by Loot Your Loot. But there are other ways of playing Battlefield of Eternity, and I think we may see something, we may see different styles. We are about to head into the draft, though, in game number 3 in this best of 3 series, The Decider. So, Battlefield of Eternity. Here we are, ready for an eternal battle. Also known as Battlefield of 18.5 minutes on average. So, I think we're expecting a Li Ming ban early on, particularly by Loot Your Loot. We're expecting a Gazlowe ban again by Fat Under Ladders. So I'm expecting, if I had to write down, if I had to guess the first 2 bans, I'm guessing Gazlowe, then Li Ming. Then we might see more of the map-specific bans. Possibly you'll see the Valab getting banned. You might see something like a Hanzo, though that's very old school. Reyna might get prioritized in the draft. We saw Reyna was picked up in game number 1 as well. So I suspect an Exterminator Reyna may be on the cards for Fat Under Ladders. Kawawa now going to ban for their team here, Loot Your Loot. I predict the Li Ming ban. Any other bets? We have got the Joanna ban. Okay, that's consistent. There's what they banned in games 1 and 2. They really don't want to deal with that Joanna on the side of Loot Your Loot. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but we will find out, I guess. Well, no, we won't find out because it's been banned again. I mean, it is the most popular tank, the most picked tank by Fat Under Ladders throughout the season, and it's high. It's a decent to high win rate for them. So that makes sense. But then there's a lot of other heroes that they also do very well with. So you can't ban everything. Surely this is a Li Ming ban. If this isn't a Li Ming ban, I will be. That's not a Li Ming. They've gone for the Reyna. look, that makes sense. I get that because he's good for the race. He's good for the immortal damage. He's good for the race. He's good for the team fight, as we saw in game number 1. And he's good single target damage, and that's the way that Fat Underladders play this. But you've invited that Li Ming pick. You've practically begged Fat Underladders to pick the Li Ming that was so pivotal for them. Laser Mihu, the MVP perhaps of game number 1, and you've sort of asked for that. That's confidence to me. Now that says to me that Lucha Luke probably have some plan to deal with this Li Ming. I'd be concerned if I were them, but they presumably now going to deny the Ana, I assume.
The hunt is
No, they've gone for
Will forge
Varian. Now is that Smash? Hang on, because that could be Smash Varian in the offlane. Of course, it could still be Taunt, right? You can't complain about a good Taunt Varian in offlane or a main tank, but it could even be Smash and just go for the race that way. But they have again invited that Ana Li Ming, and we saw. Never mind the nano boost. I don't care about nano boost. Never mind that. The sleep into Li Ming volleys were so impactful for Fat Underladders in game number 1. I'm amazed that Lucha Loot have invited invited them to play it again. Greymane picked up here as well for even more single target burst by Odin Blue, and of course provides a very healthy amount of immortal damage as well for the race. There's the Garrosh Band. I like that idea, but it does leave open again that Muradin. That's why you're sort of asking Fat Underladders to play their game number 1 draft, and here's the Chromie Band so that you can't replicate your mage of choice here. Although Voldemarius already being on the Lunara suggests they weren't going to do that. We may see a Kael'thas from Alterac, who was very impactful on Kael'thas in game number 2 there, but it's not as good a map for Kael'thas as it is for some of the other mages. He specializes in that AoE damage rather than that single target race, but of course he's fine. There's nothing to be frowned about. The Brightwing pick, I'm a little bit cautious about. I understand why they picked the Brightwing pick. It's because you see somebody, a Li Ming volley coming from someone, you put 30 spell armor, maybe even 55 spell armor on them. You give them nice burst protection. That's great. That's all good. I'm not complaining about that. The problem is, Brightwing's phase shift cooldown is reset by minions, and a lot of the fighting that goes on Battlefield of Eternity is going to be not with Brightwing anywhere near minions. It's going to be in the central plaza, you might call it, and Brightwing is going to have her phase shift on full long cooldown. That is a long time. That is a heroic cooldown. Whereas when you're fighting around minions and you're resetting that phase shift, you don't have that problem. There's the main tank, which suggests it is going to be Smash Varian in the offlane. I like, by the way, look, I mean, Imperius is going to get press shield to try and survive here. Then Varian's going to press Shattering Throw on him. Then he's going to smash him, or vice versa. And then there's going to be a polymorph, and Imperius is going to be dead. So I think, Fat Underladders have to be careful here. But it's, I'm still concerned by some of the elements of Lucha Loot's draft that I think could get punished if we have sharp execution from Fat Underladders. And what have they got? They've got the Muradin setup, they've got the Imperius setup, they've got the Ana setup, and then they've got the Li Ming and the Greymane to follow. For me, that's their that's what I've seen as Fat Underladders' speciality in games 1 and 2. And so it's a little bit surprising to see it be allowed by their opponents here. The game's just starting, but we're going to get quickly betting on. You can type ! bet A and a number of points to bet on who you think will win game number 3, and therefore the series. I'm typing a bet here on Fat Underladders, and we are going in momentarily to game number 3, the decider in this best of 3. It is, of course, Battlefield of Eternity. And in blue on the left, we have got Fat Underladders, the free agent team, with Plumpykins on Muradin on a Ram. We have Laser Mihu once again on that Li Ming, returning from game number 1, devastating here. Guggen on the Ana, Valar on the Imperius, and Odin Blue on the Greymane. And in the red corner, we have May, played by Nadzabnaya, Voldemarius on the Lunara, Alteric on the Kael'thas. Watch out for that because that was devastating in game number 2. Very important for them there. Gawawa on the Varian, and Cactus Hoser on the Brightwing. And we see a very interesting lane setup here. Imperius goes for the skewer onto Lunara, but immediately Brightwing's phase shifts in. But Lunara still dies. Now that... Was there a grenade from Ana? I suspect there was because Lunara died after the phase shift, so must have got healed by the phase shift, but I guess the grenade must have denied it. And that's one of the challenges, I guess, of playing Brightwing against Ana is, of course, phase shift is a very telegraphed heal. It's like ancestral healing. In fact, I often call Brightwing a Medivh with ancestral healing, and of course that's very predictable heal for Ana to drop her minus 100% healing grenade on. That's going to be very difficult, maybe a problem for the red team as the game evolves. So here's something very interesting: is Varian's gone for the High King's Quest at level 1. Now that is typically a talent that you see with Twin Blades, although you could see it with Smash as well. I'd be perhaps slightly surprised, but I mean, we could potentially have a Twin Blades here, and we've seen it in the chat discussed. This could be Windblade's Varian. Now the problem he'll face when if he should do that is it's going to be against a Muradin, an Ana, and an Imperius, and it's going to be very difficult to get value out of that Twin Blades. However, if Muradin gets sufficiently distracted or pulled away, that sort of stuff, then that will allow the Twin Blades to go absolutely freely onto Li Ming. There's a skewer from Imperius with the Li Ming volley to combo. Nice little sidestep from Nanza Panaya on the Greymane though. Of course, Brightwing gets put to sleep, and that also gets punished with a Li Ming volley. So let's take a quick look at those level 1 talents actually, which we didn't get too much of a chance to reflect on. I really like, by the way, the laning structure, and we'll go more into the way Lucha Lu are playing this at the moment in just a second. But they have managed to secure themselves control of that top camp. Level 4 is in. Varian, have you picked the talent? It's coming. It's coming. It's Taunt. So nothing too spicy here. Now, it is slightly surprising to go High King's Quest with Taunt. It has just been buffed in the form of reducing the amount of globes needed to get that talent. Now, Kael'thas got to be so careful here. In comes the blue rotation, looking for Kael'thas. They don't even want the Varian. They're going for Kael'thas. Varian tries to taunt one off, but it's not going to be enough. And maybe he's going to be next. No, he will be able to walk out. But Kael'thas, not so lucky. So, immediately, the red team goes to get their Bruiser Camp. Of course, the blue team already got their Bruiser Camp, and they still had one of those Siege Camp guys pushing in the bot lane as well. There's quite a bit of pressure, but that has been cleared up pretty easily enough here in the bot. So, not too much pressure there. And May's going to help it out with a Blizzard. Given the positioning, I think there's very little chance of the red team contesting this, and they should just try to get the shield down, but they are going to try. Go in for the taunt. Look, catches it onto Ana. In comes May with the follow-up. But look, the Immortal also providing a lot of space, controlling Imperius actually in that Mortal Stun. He's got his medallion popped. Might try to walk out. It gets a nice bit of healing from Ana. Valar going to be threatening to taunt up in 2 more seconds. They're going to taunt onto somebody. Is it going to be Greymane? It may well be. Is the taunt there? No, because Varian... There it is. This time onto Greymane. Puts a bit of pressure. And he goes down to 30 HP. Doesn't manage to walk away though. Odin Blue survives, and Gawawa got to be careful. In comes the skewer from Imperius. Nicely sidestepped by Gawawa, but catches onto Brightwing though. Now the space is being created for Lunara Valdemarius to get some value. Yes, the blue team has got the Immortal. Is May getting out? Is May actually getting out with 140 HP? Yes, because of Gawawa with the big taunts. Cactus Hoser on the Brightwing does get found out though by that aggression from Muradin, and we know Clumpy Kindle on Muradin is going to put a lot of pressure, and of course that Sledgehammer level 4 is helping those baseline quests get up and running. But more importantly, the reason he's gone Sledgehammer here, as Kael'thas gets found out as well by a sleep into a Mortal Stun. The reason they've gone for that Sledgehammer is to get more race on that Immortal, and once those perfect storm stacks are up and running, they are amplified by the Sledgehammer as well. They'll amplify. That'll be a lot of damage onto that Immortal from those Storm Bolts and make Muradin a real race threat. But Imperius now providing this zone. This Immortal still going very far forward. I think the fort is going to fall down. And so the red team's just going to step back and defend safely at towers, knowing as they do that the support is already gone. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Varian versus Muradin, that's not a solo lane where anybody's likely to die in the next 12 hours, so we'll keep focused over here on the top lane, where Imperius continues to create space, but the Immortal has finally been cleared. But look at this, a 1-level lead now for Fat and Zalatas. They're showing once again that brutality they showed in game number 1. Now Li Ming's rotating here, looking for Varian, but Brightwing also able to come in and just make sure that Varian is safe as houses. So look at where this XP is coming from. You can see it's almost all from hero kills, actually. And you know, obviously they've also got themselves a tower on the side of Fast and the Ladders, but you know, it's almost all from those 4 hero kills. That's created the XP difference here in favor of Fat and the Ladders, and that's why they're a level ahead, and why they're knocking on the door of level 10, not too far away actually, in probably around 30 seconds time, and that's when we're going to see them pull the trigger. But Muradin doesn't want to wait for that. Jumps in, throws a storm ult, gets a stack. But then you can just walk away, get the second win value if he needs. Varian, of course, still stuck at the top lane clearing, and that means this is a 5v4 situation. In comes Muradin and Imperius looking for the skewer, but there's a gravity lapse, punishes Plumpykin on the Muradin, falls down to only 300 HP, but will walk away, and of course that second win will bring him back up to full health in no time at all, and this is where that level 10 is coming in for the blue team. Varian did a nice job of soaking in that top lane though. In the meantime, Gawawa catching up on that XP. If you take a look at those XP there, now 3.3k for Varian. It looks like he's a long way behind Muradin, but that's partly because they had 2 in the top lane for the first couple of minutes of the game. So Kael'thas was absorbing a lot of that soak in the top as well.
Before my wrath, demon.
Level 10 still needed for your loot. They need to get themselves that heroic ability in order to be able to even defend this objective. And of course that's why Varian's still in the top lane, and that's why the rest of them is still in the bot, but that leaves them exposed to the engage from Imperius and Muradin. Already Kael'thas goes down. Muradin wants to get more. Nice little medallion from Brightwing, but won't keep her alive for long enough. There's the cure from Imperius, trying to go through the gate, but won't be able to secure the kill on Mei, of course. She's very tanky, but still, that's 2 kills for nothing. That's a lot of space. It's going to be the first half of the Immortal. Maybe it's going to be the full Immortal, but no. What they're going to do here is they're going to invade this camp. They still have a 2-person advantage, and they still have a heroic advantage. The red team knows this is going on, and they're thinking about whether they can contest this, because they do have the level 10s now. Mei steps in, throws the Blizzard to create a bit of space. The Li Ming volley has been used. And now I think the red team are going to contest this. Brightwing is alive, can phase shift in potentially, but Muradin creates the space. No, Varian comes in, Imperius is there with his shield available. There's the polymorph. Throws out the combo though onto Mei, but she hides in her ice block. Will be very healthy for now. Imperius does not have anything left to keep him alive. In comes the living bomb, will secure the kill onto Imperius. The Immortal though has gone down, and it is a full shield Immortal. So the camp and the kill were picked up by Lucha Loot. But as compensation, the blue team got themselves a full shield Immortal marching on that bot lane. Muradin goes straight to the top to deal with that camp as well. He has the Sledgehammer, so he'll cut through that big bruiser Fallen Shaman in, 2 more Storm Bolts will be surely enough to finish the job on that. And then he may consider rotating down, looking for some aggression. So one of the things that's really interesting about the way this Muradin is playing is actually having gone for Haymaker in game number 1. Oh, Varian goes in looking for a taunt onto Anna. There's the Mei to follow. Has the snowball all just about dodged by Anna, and that means Mei is going to die because the phase shift was not quite there in time. Gawawa has to walk away ASAP and stay well and truly behind this Immortal. There's the potential taunt. Now, one of the things we said, is a skewer this time onto Varian. There's just so much killing in this game, there's no time to analyze the talents as Brightwing throws out a nice poly. Might pay for it with a life. No! Beautiful sidestep with a blink heal from Cactus Hazer. May keep Lunara alive as well. Brilliant play from Brightwing here. Goes in to get the polymorph and then beautifully jumps out. Really well executed from Cactus Hazer. Now, they may look for a counter engage here onto Imperius, who doesn't have his heroic available. Lunara comes out with a poke, but they're not actually chasing just yet. Varian is there, flirting with Plumpykin's Muradin. Can they punish Muradin here for stepping so far forwards? He does have Avatar available, will be able to use that for now if he gets in trouble, but doesn't need to. Gets on the ram and rams it out of there. So, there's a lot to analyze on the talents, but in comes Muradin. That's lovely from Plumpykin. Just get those perfect storm stacks. Hits 2 of them. That's 2 more stacks. On to 18 now. That's a bonus damage of 90 already on that. And of course, on the Immortal, that's multiplied by 4.5. So that's quite a lot. I don't know what 4.5 times 90 is. 405? Maybe. Now, they have the red team going to come and defend this bot lane because the front wall is taking a pounding from that camp and from the Li Ming volleys. But, oh, Kael'thas Ulteric there. Nicely played with a little sidestep to dodge the Valar skewer on Imperius. Level 13 is going to be so important. I suspect Varian is going to go Shattering Throw. And the idea will be Imperius presses his shield, his level 10 shield, Angelic Armament. Is it called Angelic Armament? It is called Angelic Armament, that's what I'm talking about. And then you press Shattering Throw on Varian, bang! Imperius is suddenly not as tanky as he thought he was, and he's going to get punished, potentially. But he hasn't gone for that. Going instead for the Mortal Strike. I understand that because, of course, the Shattering Throw would only have affected Imperius, whereas the Mortal Strike will affect all 5 members of the blue team. But it means they can't blow up that Imperius, can't punish him for stepping forward, as he is now trying to do. There's a Polymorph. Safety Dust from Brightwing, by the way, so not going for that Spell Armor because this time of the Greymane auto-attack potential that wouldn't have been helped by any Spell Armor. So going for that Blink Heal bonus healing. There's a volley from Li Ming, though, catches onto 2 of them. And of course, Li Ming does have the Triumvirate at level 4, will reset those orbs if they keep tanking them, which they are. There's the phase shift though, keeps Varian well and truly alive. He has a taunt available, but he's just too dead to taunt. And that's going to be the end of Varian. But in the meantime, Lunara was getting some serious race done. That is good race value from the red team. But now Muradin wants to come in. There's the Skewer to follow as well. Skewer the hammer, Skewer the skewer, catches onto Bribing and to Mei. Mei will be safe enough, but Ulteric got to be careful because Greymane's coming in. Medallion pop from Kael'thas will allow him to walk away for now. But what can they do to that Immortal? Probably nothing. And of course there's a Bruiser camp still marching on to their key bottom lane that they have to defend fairly urgently. So it is going to be a fairly low shield Immortal. The Lunara, you can't get skilled here. Voldemarius really wants to get some extra damage onto Imperius, stop him from getting free space. This is confidence from the red team because they are also leaving Varian to solo clear bot. They're split here. This is 4v5 if Varian doesn't come immediately. This could be a disaster here for Luke Yulu. Kael'thas caught between a Muradin and Imperius. That's not where a Kael'thas wants to be and gets punished by Valar and Plumpykin. And that means that one of the ranged DPS is dead as this Immortal is going to start pushing in the top lane. That's a really tough situation now for Lucha Loot. This Muradin offlane has provided so much value for Fat Under Ladders, and it seems like Lucha Loot are just not equipped to deal with it. The Plumpykin is just indestructible, just constantly providing space, providing HP, providing stuns, providing initiation, providing everything for the blue team. And they've got the follow-up there, always ready to go with that Li Ming, with that Greymane, with that burst that we saw was their signature in game number 1. In comes the Skewer, this time onto Mei. She's got an ice block, so she's not too worried. And a taunt comes out onto Anna. Gawarawa going to create space onto Guggen. Guggen has to step back, but Greymane's in there punishing Lunara with a rah-rah-rah and secures the kill with that go for the throat. And Mei's dead as well. That's 2 kills for nothing. That's resetting Ming. Maybe going for a third, but that's a huge phase shift from Brightwing. Might have just saved Kael'thas. No, because there's the follow-up damage from Muradin as well. And this Immortal is surely going all the way. Surely this is game 3. Surely this is the series. Surely this is match number 10 of Heroes Lounge Season 13, Division 7, going to Fat Under Ladders 2-1. Well, what can you say? I mean, except absolutely incredible play from both of these two teams, but Fat Under Ladders looked so razor sharp here in game number 3. Absolutely fantastic performance from them. I really like the way they've played this map. And what they've showed is different kinds of execution, but all pivoted on the same central idea, which is stun a target and blow them up. And when we see execution that sharp on single target blow up comps like this, it's very difficult for an enemy to deal with that. And credit to Luke Jalute for creating some different ideas on how to punish that with the Chen, for example, in game number 2. But here on game number 3, it did feel like they kind of got run over by just that relentless pressure from Muradin and Imperius, who coordinated their engages so well. That's really nice coordination from the front line there. And always Li Ming Laser Mihu. We said in the draft, you give Laser Mihu a Li Ming, that's going to be very unpleasant for your team. And that's exactly what happened. If we take a look, of course, at the scores, we'll see that it's 12 kills to 1 in favor of Fat and Deladas. So quite different from what we saw in game number 2, where it was neck and neck on the kills. But here, Fat and Deladas really showed once again their dominance with Li Ming, their dominance with CC and blow up comps, their dominance with Ana. And I think that's something that future opponents of this free agent team will have to watch out for again and again. But that brings our series for tonight to a close. I mean, so Lodmon in the chat is saying exactly right. Yeah, I mean, as soon as the Immortal was capped, it was like, you know, is this going to be game? But then Fat and the Ladders managed to get engage, but with Imperius and Mirrodin just constantly always up front looking to catch those ganks. They got one kill after another, secured themselves those kills, and indeed ultimately allowed them to end the game. And don't forget the other value of Sledgehammer, because we were talking about Plumpykind on the Mirrodin with the Sledgehammer in games number... earlier in the for the Immortal race. But don't forget the value of Sledgehammer also on just melting a keep, melting a core. It does 350% bonus damage to both of those things, as well as to the Immortal. And that Mirrodin had a lot of stacks as well. So you're talking about very high ability for the Fat and the Ladders to take down structures. So with that in mind, that's all we had time for tonight. So thank you for watching this Division 7 match between Fat and the Ladders and Lucha Loot. I don't think either of those teams will be in the playoffs, but you know where you can see which teams will be in the playoffs and in which groups they'll fall, and the Heroes Lounge Draw Show on Sunday the 8th of November on this channel at around 8 PM Central European time. And keep an eye out in the Discord or follow the channel for announcements about when that will be. I'm going to leave you for now. I'll probably raid you over to someone else who I haven't yet determined who that will be, but it may be Dr. Nick on another channel, which we will check if they are live now. But if so, enjoy them. Say hi to them from me. But for now, from me, that's going to be all for now. Have a good evening.